All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We're really excited to have you all here. I can see folks trickling in, so we'll get started now. So welcome to Plaid's Tech Talk series. Today, I'm excited to have Bryce McAvoy and Jonathan Mcfadden from LendingTree with us to share how they've become their customers' financial hub. We'll be recording today's event, and we'll be sharing the link after the event for all the attendees here. Please feel free to drop in any questions you have into the Q&A widget at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and we'll get to these at the end of the session. All right, so we have an exciting discussion ahead of us today. When we talk to our customers, digital transformation is always one of their top priorities, but they don't know where to start. Consumers traditionally have gone to multiple places for various financial needs. So they may go to a particular bank for their checking account and another bank for their mortgage. Now consumers are looking for one hub and one platform where they can manage all of their finances. The goal of today's presentation is to help give you best practices on becoming that hub for your consumers and helping them to manage their multiple financial needs through your platform. We're going to spotlight one of our amazing customers, LendingTree, who has solved for this and has become a financial hub for over 16 million users.
Thanks, Mehreen. So our goal today is to share with you our story of LendingTree. Over the last few years, we've had some big, ambitious goals in regards to our My LendingTree platform. We wanted to make some fundamental changes to our platform to increase our revenue, our engagement, and our user satisfaction. And our hypothesis was that working with Plaid to allow users to connect their bank accounts would help us create a financial app that was really missing in today's marketplace. The story we'll be sharing today will dive into that thought process, the partnership, and how Plaid has enabled us to create a product focused on our customers' financial wellness, this financial hub. And with that, I'll hand it back to Mehreen.
Thanks, Bryce. So my name is Mehreen Iqbal. I'm an account manager here at Plaid. For those of you that are not familiar, Plaid provides connectivity to financial accounts. We make it easy and to establish a secure ongoing connection to financial accounts in as little as 7 seconds. Today, Plaid works with over 4,000 financial apps. We work with over 11,000 US banks and credit unions, in addition to hundreds more in Canada, the UK, and the European Union. We estimate that 1 in 4 US adults has connected a financial account via Plaid, which equates to more than 200 million accounts. Bryce and Jonathan, I'll let you both introduce yourselves and tell us a bit more about LendingTree. Also love that you both are wearing Plaid today.
Thanks, Mehreen. So my name is Bryce McAvoy. I'm a senior product manager at LendingTree, and I focus on our logged in experience for our users. So that includes the My LendingTree web platform, as well as our LendingTree mobile app. And I'll turn it over to Jonathan to tell you a little bit about himself and the company.
Thanks, Bryce. Hi, everyone. I'm Jonathan Mcfadden. I'm a senior content strategist at LendingTree, which puts me responsible for the messaging and the words that we use to craft experiences for our users. So now I'll give you a brief introduction to our company. At LendingTree, we simplify financial decisions for our customers' meaningful life moments by giving them access to our lending marketplace. Customers use the marketplace to shop for various types of loans, insurance, credit cards, and more, while also receiving their free monthly credit scores and recommendations for improving their credit health. We are publicly traded, and we've welcomed several other companies in the LendingTree brand to augment our efforts at helping people make their most sensible financial choices. We're also known for our funny commercials, so feel free to check them out on YouTube when you have a minute. So part of our story includes exponential and robust growth. We've consistently scaled our business over the last 2 decades by delivering real value to consumers while remaining nimble and adapting to industry trends and evolving customer expectations. To put that in perspective, we facilitate roughly $30 billion in annual loan originations through customers who have successfully connected with lenders on our marketplace. And in the last year alone, we've generated $1 billion in revenue, which is nearly 16x growth in the last 10 years. Our compound annual growth rate is 42%, and we currently have 16.5 million users on the My LendingTree platform. Bryce, can you discuss a little bit of that in more detail?
Sure, thanks. So a few years ago, we really took a step back to see how we could create a more meaningful, engaging platform for our users. LendingTree had already built out a really successful free credit score product. Users relied on us for credit score updates, credit monitoring, and just general advice on how to improve their credit scores. So using that foundation, we wanted to see how we could expand that product offering to more broadly help users with their financial health. And just by the nature of a lot of those products, users don't need to come to us every month for a mortgage or every week for an auto loan. And we wanted to build something out that really drove engagement with users on a weekly and monthly basis. That relationship model is at the heart of our mobile app and LendingTree experience today. Users are relying more and more on personal financial management apps to help better their lives, and Mehreen's going to share with us a little bit more about that.
Thanks, Bryce. So as I talk to customers, I hear a lot about how different organizations are trying to accelerate their digital transformation and improve the consumer experience, but they often don't know where to tackle this or where to start. The shift to digital started well before 2020, but as we've seen in the last year, it's really been accelerated by the pandemic and is here to stay. Last year, Plaid surveyed 2,000 consumers, and here's what we learned. 62% of Americans now manage more than half of their money digitally. 80% say they no longer need bank branches, and 73% say that fintech is the new normal. This is a huge opportunity. So how do you win? So here's what we're seeing across the ecosystem and what consumers expect today. First, a mobile-first experience. We did a similar tech talk with Chime last year, and Chime is now a top 10 bank in the US. 62% of monthly active users for US online banking use Chime for their best-in-class digital onboarding. Second is instant connectivity. As far back as 2018, the average checking account had 16 apps and recurring payments connected to it, showing us that ease of access to money is important, as well as the ability to transact instantly. Last but not least is personalized finance. Consumers want to know customized, relevant insights that cater to their financial situation. This is where LendingTree is a market leader. Jonathan, I'd love to learn more about your consumer research and how LendingTree enables a personalized consumer experience.
Absolutely, and I would love to tell you. So we've definitely seen our users express some of those same behaviors and habits you just described. Last year, we partnered with a performance marketing agency for a deep dive into our audience segmentation and to create personas of our ideal customers and users. And that's how we met Kaya, who fits to the category of our upward bound young professionals. So let's talk a little bit more about Kaya. Individuals like our Kaya persona comprise a wide age range, 18 to 44, but they're also preparing to enter their peak earning years. They're ambitious, career-driven, and concerned about setting themselves up for a better future. That makes them significant drivers of revenue because they're willing to invest in products that help them achieve their goals. They're savvy and not as concerned with shopping at particular brands as they are with the emotional payoff of purchasing decisions. Those attributes help us define Kaya, a 26-year-old graphic designer living in Austin. She values convenience and speed and is willing to do business with anyone offering her the best deal. She remembers the turmoil of the Great Recession and uses that as motivation to build a better future for herself and her corgi, Noodles. Because she's savvy and likes the idea of maintaining a close watch on her money, credit score, and investments, she does all her banking and financial management online. She and her cohort are the future of personal finance. Okay, Bryce, can you talk a bit more about how we become Kaya's financial hub?
Yeah, sure. So as Mehreen mentioned earlier today, Kaya and people in her demographic, they don't think of their accounts in terms of the specific bank that they're using or the lender that serviced their mortgage. They think about the platforms that they use to manage those things. They want one hub that they can view all of their accounts, see all of their balances, and do simple functions like transfer money. They don't think about, I have a Wells Fargo checking card and a Citi Chase card. They just want one platform where they can see all of that data. So the result of some of our user research at LendingTree and our own internal data has led us to our platform that really focuses on this user engagement. The reality today is that really no product can survive if they're servicing up, impersonal, transactional relationships with their users. Consumers have really come to expect apps that deliver personalized and meaningful experiences that really cater to their needs. And I like to always think of this in terms of, the old book, The Social Contract, the idea that there's this unspoken agreement in society that everyone works for the betterment of each other. As a product manager, my unspoken agreement with our users is that when they provide us data about themselves, we'll deliver purposeful and personalized experiences for them. Asking a user to provide their data, such as connecting their bank account, requires a tremendous amount of trust, and the return that you have to provide on that has to be really exceptional. So at LendingTree, we think of 3 key pillars when it comes to delivering this experience for our users: transparency, planning, and empowerment. And we'll discuss those a little bit more in depth right now. Transparency. So going back to this relationship financial hub that we wanted to create, we did a lot of user research, and we found that the easiest way to represent a customer's financial situation to them, someone like Kaya, was providing a clear and obvious representation of their past, present, and future. Financial topics can be really overwhelming to a lot of people, even those of us that work in the industry. So transparency is really critical to allow users to understand these dimensions. So the current state, the present state, you can't really set your path forward unless you know where you currently stand. And that's why we always aim to address our users' most immediate and meaningful needs first. Do they have enough money until their next paycheck? Which credit cards should they prioritize paying off? Our partnership with Plaid has really helped in this area, since we can surface real-time banking and spend information to our users pulled directly from their bank accounts. The past, we want to help Kaya and those like her understand how her behavior brought her to this point. We can do this by offering education about credit scores, factors that impact those scores, and what the user can do to improve going forward. And with that solid foundation in place, Kaya and those like her can feel comfortable planning about the future. How much does she need in her rainy day fund? What are her retirement goals? And how can she plan to pay off her student debt? Now we want to help Kaya to plan for those areas where she can improve her financial health. We think of this, again, in terms of sort of 3 steps. One is assessment. In some ways, you can sort of think of a LendingTree account like getting an inspection on your car. Even if everything seems to be running fine, it's always really a good idea to have that deep diagnostic done to make sure everything is running like it should be. This can help our users identify areas of opportunity, both critical short-term needs and those long-term goals. Our platform is constantly running this analysis for our users to provide the most vital opportunities to them. And we do that in the form of notifications. Once we've assessed Kaya's situation and her needs, it's important to surface the most meaningful ones to her in a way that's easy to act upon. And we do this through a variety of channels, in-app, push notifications, emails. We like to meet the user where they are. And finally, goal setting. All of this would be for nothing if we can't get our users bought in on the process. They have to be invested too. We meet Kaya where she is and help her achieve what she needs to accomplish her goals. So now that Kaya and our users understand their situation, have a plan in place, Jonathan's going to talk a little bit more about how they can put that plan into action.
Thanks, Bryce. So our 3rd pillar is empowerment. Simply, we aim to put the power of choice and change in Kaya's hands, and we accomplish that in 3 primary feature categories. First is her credit score. We show Kaya more than just her free credit score. We give her a breakdown of the factors influencing that score and how certain actions could help or harm it, as you can see in the screenshot on the slide. Let's say Kaya has a low average age of credit. She'll see information encouraging her to keep her oldest credit accounts open so her credit score won't dip, but instead improve with time. She'll also know whether her average age of accounts falls in a poor, good, or excellent range. The second feature is cash flow. When Kaya connects her bank accounts, she'll be able to look through her last 2 years worth of transactions so she can identify her own spending trends and course correct if needed. Because we're able to extract real-time data regarding Kaya's current financial standing, we can tell her whether she's spending below or above her budget. She'll also get a forecast of how her cash flow is projected to look for the month, how her current spending trends compare to the last 3 months, and a gauge of her debt to income ratio, which determines her eligibility for loans in the future. Speaking of the future, we consider Kaya's future success a critical component because it shows her a potential path forward. Savings and refinancing alerts show her exactly how much she might be able to save on loans or monthly bills. For example, if Kaya's paying $240 a month on her auto loan, she might get an alert showing that she could potentially refinance for a lower APR that drops her payment to $195 a month. That's a $45 monthly savings. That may not feel like a substantial amount in the short term, but over time, it amounts to a sizable savings and less interest Kaya has to pay. She'll also get a snapshot of her financial future, gauging her financial preparedness over the next few years. This functionality puts a very real number on Kaya's financial future wherewithal, giving her an idea of where she could be if all conditions remain the same. It's then up to Kaya to decide whether changes are necessary to modify that figure. Now, Bryce, I'm handing it back to you for an explanation of what this experience actually looks like for customers.
Thanks, Jonathan. So we just wanted to provide a real example here of some of the recommendations that we would provide to our users at LendingTree. And we really have three main things that we want to make sure all of our recommendations and notifications kind of check on the list. They need to be simple, they need to be transparent, and they need to be actionable. The user really needs to clearly see the benefit that we're trying to describe and understand the steps to pay off. Next, Jonathan's going to explain the cumulative effect of all this process, how transparency, planning, and empowerment can directly benefit our users.
Yeah, thanks, Bryce. So everything we've just described illustrates what we hope will be a virtuous cycle of benefits Kaya experiences while engaging with our platform. Ideally, she'd acquire lifetime value, ensuring our interaction with her isn't one and done, but an ongoing benefit that helps her set new goals, improve her financial situation, and again, help boost her eligibility for better products and services. Here's our goal. As Kaya's financial situation improves, the more she uses the product. The more she uses the product, the better her financial situation. So Bryce, we're switching back to you for a look at this cycle in the life of a real user. I know our audience is in for a treat.
Thanks. So far we've been talking in hypotheticals, but we did want to show you a hard use case as well. And I want to emphasize that all of this data we're about to present is a real user that we internally call Michael at LendingTree. He first created an account with us a little over 2 years ago while exploring some mortgage options. At the time, he had a 662 credit score, which likely led to some high rates, and he ended up not closing a loan at that time. Over the next year, he logged in 12 more times. Each of those times, he would have seen notifications and recommendations, advice on how to improve his credit score. In the course of that first year, he explored a few more of our products and increased his credit score by 66 points. Well, obviously, any financial app that can improve your score by 60 points is one a user is going to continue to come back to, and that's exactly what we see with Michael. In year 2, he logged in an additional 4 times, submitted loan requests for a mortgage refinancing, and a second round of debt consolidation. With a 728 credit score, he was now seeing prime interest rates that would save him thousands of dollars a year compared to his previous year's requests and submissions. Over the course of the 2 years, Michael increased his score by a total of 88 points, becoming a happy and engaged user. And while we do love to share Michael's story, he's certainly not alone. LendingTree has helped millions of consumers over the years on their path to financial wellness. Our mission statement is to help simplify financial decisions for life meaningful moments through choice, education, and support. It's a mission we take really seriously, and these are some of the facts that we use to quantify that. Our My LendingTree account currently has 16.5 million account holders. 50% of those improved their credit score in the first 6 months after they joined. The average credit lift was 50 points, and what we consider our highly engaged users improved their credit score by 70 points. And these stories don't happen by accident. We are first and foremost a product-oriented company. And that means that all of the successes and the happy failures that we have come from the core principles we strive to achieve as a company. And I'll touch on them a little bit here. The first one, I would almost argue that this one deserves a slide unto itself. We want to emphasize that if you're not solving actual user problems and finding that right product market mix, your product's going to fall flat. You can have the splashiest designs and the best marketing in place, but unless you're really solving a problem for a user, they're not going to come back to you. Number 2, data-informed decisions. LendingTree, we approach that hard and soft data are important. Obviously, gathering all of the right metrics and user behavior is important, but soliciting feedback from our users and doing the research and seeing how they engage with your problem is just as important. You have to understand their pain points, what gives them heartaches, and that ultimately will better improve your product. Jumping down a little bit, set big goals and be accountable. This is one of our core principles across LendingTree and runs deep throughout the company. We frequently refer to, Jim Collins had a famous book, Built to Last, and he referred to these as big, hairy, audacious goals, BHAGs. That's a term you'll hear a lot at LendingTree, and everyone is encouraged to create these BHAGs and take ownership on seeing them through. And finally, creative ambition. That kind of summarizes everything else on the list here. At LendingTree, we're always looking to make outstanding products that really delight our users. So from our UX to design to product to our technology teams, we're encouraged to be creative and always let the best idea win out. So with that, I want to hand it back to Mehreen a little bit to discuss how Plaid can help enable companies to make this process a little bit easier.
Thanks, Bryce and Jonathan. I really appreciate you guys sharing a little bit more about My LendingTree and the impact you've had on millions of users. So up until now, we've really learned how you become a financial hub for consumers and really shifted that transactional model to one that's more focused on long-term relationships. So I'll share a little bit about how Plaid as a technology platform has helped make this easier. Plaid builds the infrastructure that powers modern financial services. So we like to think of ourselves as the plumbers of fintech. Data that used to be siloed in banks can now be securely permissioned by consumers and accessed by a myriad of applications, allowing consumers to easily access their financial data. So here's a quick demo on how Plaid works. We enable connectivity to a user's financial accounts by capturing consent, allowing them to select their financial institution, and then securely establishing a connection. We confirm we've made that connection and then let you and your product experience take over again. It's fast and easy for your users to securely connect, and we hope to do so in as little as 7 seconds. Plaid provides a range of products based on consumer permission access to financial accounts. So essentially the way we like to think about it is anything you can walk into a bank and get, we can do that for you securely, instantly, and digitally. For example, Plaid provides transaction data, account balances, and account holder information. So here are the 4 things you can expect when you partner with Plaid. First, an increase in customer acquisition. In this new world, acquisition and conversion are your best lever, and we want to make sure you maximize your funnel. Second, an increase in engagement. Integrating with Plaid drives more logins and in-app actions. Third, an increase in customer engagement and satisfaction. We want your customers to love your product, and we want to make that easy for you. And lastly, an increase in lifetime value, which creates customer loyalty and impacts your bottom line. So to start, I'll share some examples. So as I mentioned earlier, the single best lever you have is conversion. Plaid enables customer acquisition and a best-in-class digital onboarding. Earlier, I mentioned Chime as a top 10 bank. Chime observed that users who have connected accounts with Plaid are 3.2 times more likely to fund new accounts. LendingTree has also seen impactful results. My LendingTree users who have connected accounts with Plaid are 4 times more likely to submit a loan request. I'll let Bryce talk through a few examples on engagement.
Great, thanks. So as I talked about a little bit earlier, the nature of most of our financial products that we sort of hung our hat on with building out at LendingTree meant that users were only coming to us every couple of years, on average 7 years for a mortgage and 5 years for an auto loan. So as part of our goal of becoming a more engaging, customer-centric platform, we explored this partnership with Plaid to build out cash flow and budgeting features on our site. We know that these dimensions are increasingly important for users to get a grasp on their financial situation. And so far, that partnership has paid off in a huge way. Users that connect a bank account through Plaid are logging in 60% more often than those without a connected account. And that's really promising for us at LendingTree as we continue to build out outstanding and ever more engaging features to help solve these user problems. Jonathan, why don't you share a little bit more about customer satisfaction?
Sure thing. Everything you just said, Bryce, really dovetails nicely into greater customer satisfaction and happiness. So we knew our customers wanted more than a free credit score when using our products. They wanted a connected mobile-first experience that helped them manage the range of their financial lives and health. So that's why integrating with Plaid made so much sense. And it's paid dividends in customer satisfaction and happiness. We've seen NPS for users who have connected their bank accounts increase by 26 points when compared with members who haven't. It's clear that listening to our customers and backing up our own hunches with user research has created a much more meaningful and valuable experience. And now I'm handing it back to you, Mehreen.
Thanks, Jonathan. So last but not least, Plaid increases lifetime value. So an example would be Dwala is a payments processor that observed that users with accounts connected with Plaid spend 5 times more in their first year than those that don't connect an account via Plaid. LendingTree observed that users that connect accounts with Plaid generate 3.7 times more revenue per month. These are great examples as to how Plaid enables revenue growth and impacts your bottom line. At Plaid, we're constantly innovating and have some exciting products in beta. We're helping customers reduce the risk of fraud associated with payments through our fraud risk score beta. We're also processing payments to enable account funding and disbursements through our bank transfers beta. And lastly, we're investing in payroll integrations with our newest beta, Direct Deposit Switch, which allows consumers to seamlessly change the destination of their direct deposit. Bryce, I'll let you share how our audience can take the learnings from today's Tech Talk and apply it to their organizations.
Thanks, Mehreen. Yeah, so we started this partnership with Plaid discussions probably about a year ago, and this stuff doesn't happen overnight. But if we had to boil it down to sort of 3 steps that users could take away today, number 1 would be start with the user needs and do your research. Any product manager will tell you that the crux of their job is user research and talking with people. Users breathe life into our products, and that's really where it should all start. 2 is identify a focus to rally around. In our case, we wanted to expand from the free credit score product that we offered and become a financial hub that users would engage with on a weekly basis. And 3 is build out the team and resources to create a solution, right? Commit to excellence. If you're going to do this, do it the right way and build something that's truly outstanding for your users.
All right. Thank you so much, Bryce and Jonathan, for your time and insights today. We'll now pivot to Q&A and open it up to the audience. Great. So I'll see some of the questions that we have coming in. So does Plaid connect to business accounts? Yes, we do. We do provide connectivity to both consumer and business accounts. All right. I'll take a question here for LendingTree. What does the next 12 months look like for the LendingTree platform?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've talked today about our journey to becoming a financial hub, and certainly we don't want to give the impression that we're done or we think that we've solved the problem. A lot of those stats that Mehreen shared earlier today about how prevalent technology is becoming in this space is really captivating, and it's changing so fast. So, like any company, like any fintech or otherwise, we've got our 12-month roadmap and our 3-year roadmap of what we want to accomplish, but we fully understand that this stuff is changing so fast and meeting the demands of the consumer. Those demands are changing, practically week to week. So on our end, we want to continue to use this connected bank account technology to sort of build out these robust features that bring users back to our site and back to our app on a weekly basis and become a crucial tool for them to manage their health. And then, we're building out cash flow and budgeting features now, and we feel like we're getting a really good grasp on that. I'd say the next focus for us is continue to optimize that, and also forward thinking with financial future and helping that planning aspect that we talked about earlier.
Great, thanks, Bryce. So I see some questions here on categorization. So Plaid does provide transactions categorization through our products. This is something we're continuously improving over time. I'm not sure if LendingTree, if you guys want to add anything there in terms of categorization.
Yeah, so a question came through about how does LendingTree help categorize transactions, and that's something we look at frequently. Obviously, the data we get from Plaid is fantastic, but at the same time, they're trying to map thousands of different banks and transactions types and user activity, and it's not easy. So, for any of you that are using budgeting apps today, I'm sure you've logged in and you go shopping at Target and all of a sudden it comes through as a mortgage transaction category or whatever. So those categories are difficult. We look at that data frequently to try to optimize it. We also understand it's important to kind of give users control on that categorization, because that really drives a lot of users' budgeting decisions and seeing where they spend their money. So we understand the importance of that for sure.
Great. I see here another question on LendingTree has been around for a while. How's your business model different today?
Yeah, I certainly don't want to answer how our entire business model that deserves a seminar of its own. But in general, I'll speak to my LendingTree and the logged in experience. Like I said, we really want to become the financial hub, and I know you guys are maybe sick of me hearing me saying that, but that's truly the answer. We want customers that are coming to us on a weekly, daily, monthly basis to get that grasp and get that financial health under wraps. So more targeted users that come more often is paramount for us.
And if I can add to that, I'd also like to speak to just our company's reputation for adaptation. Yeah, when we started out back in the late 90s, we were primarily mortgage. That's well known. People still sometimes associate that with us. However, we have diversified our products over time in response to what we saw happening in the industry, in response to what we saw customers asking for, what we heard from customers, just like we're talking about today. We listened to our users and we realized, okay, they wanted a financial hub. They're not just coming to us for a free credit score. They want more than that. They want a platform where they can actually handle the bulk of their financial lives. And in the same way, it's the same culture is pervasive across the entire organization. And so we will just continue to iterate and continue to innovate and continue to evolve and adapt as trends continue to shift.
Great, thanks. Thank you both. I see a question here around kind of coverage and the banks that we cover. So we cover almost over 11,000 banks in the US. And so we offer a range of products and happy to share some more information about this as a follow-up, but we focus on consumers and we also provide coverage for business accounts. And then in regards to security, security is a core component of what we do today, and we take security very seriously. So you can read more about security on our website at plaid.com/security and take a look at our privacy policy there. All right. Is there any plan to bring back the Plaid income product? Love this question. We are working on something behind the scenes, so stay tuned for more information there. I see a question here for Jonathan. How does your content power your personalization?
Yeah, I saw that too. I think that's a really good question. So that's a constant work in progress. So we continue. So one thing about LendingTree, something that I think is really powerful and really not unique, but helps us a lot, is our reliance on data. And so we continue to leverage user data as much as we possibly can when it comes to providing content in our app experiences, with our email campaigns, with landing page, whatever medium we're working in, whatever medium we're creating an experience for. We definitely are trying to weave in personalization as much as we possibly can. Again, it's a work in progress. We are not at the peak of the mountain just yet. But it's something that we're looking at always, talking about, talking to different stakeholders across the organization on different teams. We're trying to figure out ways that we can just make this pretty essentially part and parcel of who we are as an organization, as a company, and as a provider. And so it's something that we're definitely in the weeds with, but still trying to grow.
Great, thank you. Seeing a few questions here on what countries Plaid is offered in, and if we have plans to expand. So today Plaid is live in the US, Canada, the UK, France, Spain, Ireland, and the Netherlands. So I know a few folks asked about APAC and Latin America. We're not there yet, but hope to be in the future. All right, getting a ton of questions, so going through them. In addition to Plaid, are there any key partnerships that you can share that has helped LendingTree become a customer's hub?
Yeah, sure, I can take that one. So we've obviously got tremendous relationships with the credit bureaus, and that's sort of our flagship product that we've had for a long time. So we continue to innovate with those. A lot of you may think that credit bureaus are not necessarily the most cutting edge partnerships, but I would argue that they're doing some really fascinating stuff with the user data that they have. And we certainly are always volunteering to be kind of their guinea pigs to surface that data to our users and see how it can impact and help our users make better financial decisions. Plaid has obviously been tremendous. We've reviewed that today. And looking forward, we do want to get into build out our financial future dimension a little bit stronger. So we'll be looking for partnerships there as well. But the credit bureaus and Plaid are certainly the sort of bedrock of what we use right now.
Great, thanks, Bryce. All right. All right, so another question I see is, will LendingTree allow lenders on your panel access to customers' Plaid data with consent so that lenders can pre-qualify borrowers with that data?
Yeah, I think that probably meant lenders on our network. That's certainly something we've discussed. No immediate plans in place. As I mentioned earlier, when users give you their access to data, especially banking data, that's a huge privilege for us as a platform, and we would never want to use that in the wrong way. So I think it's certainly interesting, as users come to us for personal loans or business loans, if we can automate that process at all by sharing, income verification or bank statements with lenders to speed up that process and make it easier, that's certainly something we'd want to explore. But the forefront of that would always have to be customer consent and customer willingness to share that data. We would never want to betray that trust.
Great. All right. How does LendingTree think about messaging?
Yeah, so one of the things that we had to be really conscientious about is the fact that we were basically pivoting our messaging from being your smart money sidekick, so to speak, to being your financial hub. And I would say there are some key things that we had to really consider, some key factors. The first being commitment. So if you're going to change your messaging about what your product is doing or how it's serving your users, you have to commit to it, because you won't help your customers or yourself if you're waffle back and forth on what your messaging should be. So make a decision and stick to it. And I would then say you need to find a way to pivot your messaging so it's not jarring. So you don't want people to get confused or think they're interacting with the wrong brand or another app or some other company altogether. And it was really fortuitous for us at LendingTree that we decided to start shifting that messaging around the same time we were rolling out new features. So what could have looked unplanned and helter-skelter actually felt organic and gradual. It was like a natural evolution because the messaging changes coincided with an expansion of features and opportunities for users. And I would say the third and last, well, not the last, but the third and critical, something that's very critical, is that you should ensure the messaging change is communicated to all key stakeholders in your organization. So it doesn't need to be a siloed decision that's owned and safeguarded by one team. Everyone in the company should be speaking the same language so that it infiltrates whatever experience you're developing. So, because we're all a team, so we should all be saying the same things.
All right. So I see a question. As an accounting firm, can I access all of my clients' info through Plaid? So yes, if you have a platform that allows a user to connect, their accounts, we're able to actually allow a seamless way for them to connect investment accounts, checking accounts, savings accounts, so on and so forth. So I'll close with two more questions. There's one around what is the most exciting new feature, trend, or opportunity in fintech for you right now? So maybe we can do a round robin for this one. I'm happy to start. I think, recently at Plaid, we've been looking a lot at payroll, and we truly believe payroll is the future of the next frontier for fintech. And so I think we're excited to see some of the exciting things happening in the payroll space, especially as it relates to some of our new beta products.
Yeah, I guess for me, I would say, the automation that's taking place is specifically around investments and managing money for users. Sort of the old adage was, you'll never be extremely rich unless you can make money while you're sleeping. And, today I can sign up for an app, throw, however much money I'm comfortable with and let it kind of run things from there. So I think that automation is really fascinating. I'm not sure it's totally proven out yet, but I think over the next couple months and years, that's certainly going to become sort of a standard for people.
And at the risk of sounding like a parrot, I would say also Paycheck disruption and changes there. I think as a user, that's really exciting. And we're seeing a lot of fintech startups really adopt, and other institutions really adopt this, get your paycheck early, or just, filter the entire experience through whatever app or product they happen to be using. And I think that's something that's going to resonate with a lot of people. So I'm excited to see how that shakes out.
Great. So final question for the day. What are the key advantages of LendingTree against the fintechs, which have been positioned in the financial industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. Certainly there's, you could name 10 other apps right now that are kind of in this similar space. I think one trend that we've been seeing is a lot of apps the last couple of years took their initial approach on like really hyper targeting something specific that they did well. So whether it was budget categorization or managing your subscriptions and like your recurring expenses every month, there were apps that really tackled those specific things really well. And now we're sort of seeing, those apps are realizing that they need to provide more value and kind of, to echo today's theme, need to become more of a financial hub and not just do that one thing really well. So I think with LendingTree, we've kind of taken that approach from the beginning, right? We never wanted to specifically be a budgeting app or an investment app or a loans app. We wanted to do sort of everything really well. And you'll see that, if you download the app or log into the platform today, just the breadth of products and features that we offer, I think is pretty unparalleled. And that's sort of where we hang our hat at LendingTree is the breadth of things that we can provide to our users. Kind of covers every gamut of what you would need to better your financial wellness.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Bryce. Well, thank you everybody for joining today's Tech Talk. Special thanks to LendingTree, Bryce, and Jonathan for sharing their fascinating journey. And we hope to continue the conversation and see you all soon. Thanks so much.